الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. First and foremost, it is upon us all to be mindful that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave us many blessings this morning, and from those blessings is to have the ability to wake up and to come to the masjid with the intention and the purpose of worshiping Allah Azza wa Jalla. There's a ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We realize this just to wake up in the morning and have another day of praising Allah, of worshiping Allah, and repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah tells us, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Allah swears by Al-Asr. And from the interpretations of Al-Asr is time. In other words, Allah swears by a thing due to its importance and its significance. And there lies no doubt, making Salat al-Fajr on time, in congregation, is a major means of preserving and regarding Asr and valuing time. And look at the masjid. How many brothers are there in this community? I don't think everybody could fit in this one musalla at once if they wanted to. Sahih? It wouldn't be enough room for 1/3 of the community here. But how many people are there for Fajr? Allah chose you. Allah selected you. Allah gave you life. Some of my brothers didn't wake up this morning. Some sisters didn't wake up this morning. Some of them didn't have the tawfiq, the ability to come and make it to the masjid, let alone to sit in the masjid to pray and to make it bi'idhnillah azza wa jalla dhikr after the salah. And a dhikr is from, if not the greatest act of worship in the deen of Islam, as the Messenger of Allah and forth the companions. So this is a ni'mah and a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should be at least mindful of. Let alone thankful and grateful, but at least mindful to realize that it is a ni'mah. And when the slave understands, and when the slave reflects, those things, bi'idhnillah azza wa jalla, lead him to having taqwa. Lead him to actually practicing and translating all of those thoughts and ideas into deeds. As Allah azza wa jalla says in the Quran, قُلْ تَعَالَوْا, say, O Muhammad, come, add through. Allah says, I will recite to you what your Lord has made impermissible and unlawful to you. And the Prophet ﷺ was ordered and commanded to tell the companions certain things. Don't do this, avoid this, stay away from that. And at the end of those 3 verses, Allah says, Allah says, that is what Allah has enjoined upon you. لَعَلَكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, that you may think. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says that you may reflect. And last but not least, that you may have taqwa. Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah and others from the ulama of tafsir said that when a slave knows, he thinks. And when he thinks, bi'idhnillah azza wa jalla, there's nothing left except to implement and to put it into practice. And as a wise man once said, if these people, he said, these people, if they knew better, then they would do better. A big problem behind people not doing khair is just ignorance. They just don't know. And a lot of times, people they know, but they don't reflect. As Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala explained from the reasons behind the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ falling back into shirk and the shirkiyat and acts of bid'ah and things that lead to shirk, is that they don't think that the stories of the Quran apply to them. They don't think that the stories of the Ad and the Thamud are applicable and plausible to their situation. Yani ghafla. They know, they have the Quran, they memorize the Quran, but they're not reflecting. And if they reflect, if they actually sat there and thought about it, okay, this is what this means, then bi'idhnillah azza wa jalla, there's only one last step left. Another blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to have, mashallah, this beautiful recitation of the Quran by our Imam. May Allah increase him in knowledge, increase him in righteous action. And we know the many virtues of reciting the Quran, memorizing the Quran, teaching it, spreading it on to others. But then on top of that, having a good voice with the Quran. And then on top of that, having the ability, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to recite the Quran and not being afraid. As the Prophet ﷺ has told us, the likes of which Allah has allowed a prophet, he says, Hasan as-Sawt, with a beautiful soft voice, to recite the Quran in a melodious way. So that's a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it to others. And then on top of that, Allah blessing you with a beautiful voice, and then on top of that, having the ability and yajhar to recite it, and not to be afraid and not to be shy. It's a blessing that you need to be thankful of, and we should all be happy to have that experience. We're going to cover two things this morning. You know what I mean? In the few brief moments that we have. The first is a selection from the magnificent work of Al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala called Al-Adhkar. And this book Al-Adhkar is familiar to many of you, in which Al-Nawawi rahimahullah speaks about the different fadail, the different virtues and excellent merits of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in general. Then the different supplications of the day, of the night, eating and drinking, sleeping, waking up, walking, so on and so forth. But he made a specific chapter in this book Al-Adhkar, in which he calls, in which he says, Al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, Kitabu Just bear with me 1 second, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. Al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala says, Kitabu Hifdh al-Lisan. He makes a specific chapter speaking about preserving your tongue, watching what you say. What does preserving your tongue have to do with adhkar? I thought that adhkar were things that you say, things that you do with your tongue. Al-Nawawi rahimahullah, he makes a chapter of the opposite. In other words, an entire part of his book is about not using your tongue. An entire part of the book is about not making any supplications, rather to preserve and to guard what you say and that which you speak with. It's a little weird, right? It's a little weird. Kitab al-Adhkar, the book of supplications, a book of du'as to make, and then he makes an entire chapter inside of the book to keep silent. Keep hada. How is this? How can this be? Who can explain this? Muhammad got up. What did he do wrong? I mean, what didn't he do?
I didn't see him.
Muhammad, what did he do wrong? Who remembers from last year? We explained right here in this masjid. It was the first masjid we came to last summer. And if I remember the etiquettes. Huh? What did he do that was wrong? Nobody have an idea, no clue? I sent. Sharik, it's my right that you participate in the class. You got up without asking permission. Yani, a majlis of hadith, you shouldn't get up without seeking, yani, istidhan. Tayyib, who can explain this? How did it know we make a book on adhkar, and then he made an entire chapter about not making no adhkar? Libada, kayf? Ya imam. How did it know we, بالعربي تفضل, أم بالإنجليزي, أم بالصومالي, أم عربي إن شاء الله. النووي رحمه الله كاتب كتابه في الأذكار. أدعيات تتلفظ بها وتدعو الله عز وجل بها، ثم عقد كتابا خاصا في حفظ اللسان. هذا عكس. كيف؟ وما السبب؟
لأن اللسان أمره واجب وخبره غريب.
طيب ولكن ليس كتابه في العجائب والغرائب إنما في الأذكار. غيره? Anybody else? Why would he do this? Why would he put an entire chapter on keeping your tongue preserved, keeping it locked up, keeping a close watch on your tongue? تفضل. لأن الشر والخير come from the same place. ماشي. لكن وضع كتابه في الأذكار ولم يضعه في الشر ولم وضعه في الخير والتعوذ بالله عز وجل من الشر. لابد نقترب أكثر. لا never with the left hand, always with one hand. باليمين. شوف, see the benefits of those etiquettes? We lay down the usus, the concrete. That summer, now we want to walk on concrete. We're still walking in mushy cement, it's still wet. Still need rubber boots. تفضل.
Because when you do adhkar, it helps you watch what you say. So when you are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are more likely to preserve your tongue from things you're not supposed to be saying.
ممكن. Anybody else? Muhammad. What's that sitting? You know what you have in your lap? You can't sit like that with that book in your lap. That book deserves a great deal of respect. There you are. طيب. النووي رحمه الله تعالى he says قال الله تعالى ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. وقال تعالى إن ربك لبالمرصاد. وقد ذكرت ما يسر الله سبحانه وتعالى من الأذكار المستحبة ونحوها مما سبق. وأردت أن أضم إليها ما يكره أو يحرم من الألفاظ ليكون الكتاب جامعا لأحكام الألفاظ ومبينا أقسامها. فأذكر من ذلك مقاصد تحت أو يحتاج إلى معرفة كل متدين وأكثر ما أذكره معروف فلهذا أترك الأدلة في أكثره وبالله التوفيق. اعلم أنه ينبغي لكل مكلف أن يحفظ لسانه عن جميع الكلام إلا كلاما تظهر المصلحة فيه ومتى استوى الكلام وتركه في المصلحة فالسنة الإمساك عنه لأنه قد ينجر الكلام المباح إلى حرام أو مكروه بل هذا كثير أو غالب في العادة والسلامة لا يعدلها شيء. وروينا في صحيح البخاري ومسلم عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. قلت فهذا الحديث المتفق على صحته نص صريح في أنه ينبغي أن لا يتكلم إلا إذا كان كلام خيرا وهو الذي ظهرت له مصلحته ومتى شك في ظهور المصلحة فلا يتكلم. وقد قال الإمام الشافعي رحمه الله إذا أراد الكلام فعليه أن يفكر قبل كلامه فإن ظهرت المصلحة تكلم وإن شك لم يتكلم حتى تظهر. Al-Nawawi rahimahullah, now pay close attention now. I'm going to see whose answer was the closest. He says, Kitabu Hifdhul Lisan, the chapter of guarding your tongue. Allah the Exalted says, man doesn't make a statement except that there's an angel that is ready to write it down. Allah the Exalted also says, Inna Rabbaka labil mirsad. Your Lord waits and watches. He says, in the previous chapters, I mentioned some recommended adhkar, things that are good to say, excellent merits, things that you should say, that Allah Azza wa Jalla has made easy for me to put together, facilitated, alhamdulillah. He says, but now I wanted to make another chapter pertaining to things that you make, or actions of your tongue, utterances, statements, in order for the book to be comprehensive for everything that you do with your tongue. In other words, he wants his book not just to be on adhkar, but as if he wrote a law book, a manual, a book of what to do with your tongue, good and bad. Good and bad, similar to what you mentioned. Tayyib? He then says, anything that's disliked or anything that is haram. And I want to clarify the different types and the different categories of things that you make or statements that you make. And this is something that every religious Muslim needs. Mutadayyin. Pay close attention. Every Muslim, maybe a different story. Muslims on different levels, but the one who's trying to be mutadayyin, he needs to know in detail. That which is recommended to say, that which is obligatory to say, that which is disliked to say, and that which is haram to say, and that which is unprescribed to say. There's no specific ruling. It's sawa. He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, most of what I want to mention in this book is well known. Therefore, there's no necessary or there's no immediate need of mentioning the adillah, because it's well known. He says, know for sure, it is necessary for every mukallaf, every single Muslim, man or woman, knowledgeable, ignorant, young, old, any Muslim that's of age and that has sound intellect, who's sane, it is upon them to guard their tongues from all speech. Every Muslim must keep silent unless it is a clear benefit behind speaking. Don't talk. He makes the defect or the defect or the default is to keep silent. Some of us, the asl is to speak, to talk, to run our mouths. And this is something that is very important, especially for the student of knowledge. The student of knowledge, the talib al-ilm, if there is no need to speak, Al-Nawawi rahimahullah made the asl that you keep silent and not that you talk. But there's some people today, the asl is to talk. The asl is to go on for hours and only keep silent when it's a benefit to keep silent. And that is, as the Arabs say, ra'san ala aqib. That's totally backwards. Okay? That wasn't how the ulama of the past were. They kept silent until it was time to talk. People today, they talk. Then they said, okay, now let's be quiet about this. I'm not sure about this. I don't know. I don't want to perceive the ulama in this. It's too late, ya akhi. You gave a 2-hour talk without no type of knowledge or authority. Now you say, okay, let's be quiet now. It doesn't work like that. Another rahimahullah then says, whenever it is equal, the benefit of speaking and the benefit of keeping silent, then the sunnah is to keep silent. Okay, when it's 50-50, it's a good thing to talk, but it's also a good thing to keep silent. And neither of the two is superior over the other. He says, then the sunnah is to remain speechless. Don't say anything. He says, and that's because permissible unprescribed speech could lead to that which is haram or disliked. He says, rather, in most cases, that's what happens. Most of the people, when they sit down and talk, and it's permissible for them to talk, most of the time, it leads them to saying that which is the least makruh, that which is at least disliked, let alone the haram. There's no need for you to speak about this issue. There's no need for you to speak about this masjid. There's no need to speak about this imam and this fatwa and kada or kada. There's no need to. It's unnecessary. Because it's going to lead you, at least in most cases, to fall into that which is disliked, let alone that which is haram. He then says, and there's nothing equal to safety. Salama. Alhamdulillah, I never said anything about the situation. You can't record my voice. You can't shout my voice. Salama. I'm free. I'm safe from it. I never even spoke about the issue. Let alone someone interpreting my speech, someone misunderstanding my speech. I didn't talk about it. I didn't mention nothing about this masjid or that masjid or this center or this ruling, going here and doing that. I didn't say anything about it. There's nothing like having that safety. But the person who speaks often, who speaks abundantly, who talks, he can't say that. He's going to say, oh, that's not what I meant. No, you misunderstood my speech. No, you didn't understand what I was talking about. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, he's partially jammed up. They have him saying something. We have you talking. What did you mean by that? Who are you talking about? What do you mean? You changed your ruling, you changed your fatwa. We have you on tape. This is what you said. But the one who kept silent, there's nothing they can do to him. It's nothing they can't play with his speech because he didn't talk. Everybody understand this point? And this is a golden rule according to the people of knowledge. Inna salamata la ya'diluha shay. Nothing can come close to being safe. He then says, we've mentioned, we've given our isnad back to Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu mentioned the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever believes in Allah on the last day should speak khair. He should say that which is good, or he should keep silent. This hadith that is agreed upon, its authenticity, clearly proves that the slave should only say that which is correct or keep silent. That which is a clear maslahah, a clear benefit in talking about. Whenever the person is doubtful of the benefit, then he should keep silent. Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala said, whenever someone wishes to speak, then he should think before he speaks. If there's a clear benefit that outweighs the harm, outweighs the con, then he should speak. And if not, then keep silent. In other words, let's make a simple example of this. A game that's commonly played, rather is one of the most popular games in the world, in all cultures for many years. And that is the game of what? What is the universal game that everybody plays? From Africa to China to South America. Not soccer. Soccer is one, but soccer is not what we're talking about right here. Nah. Who can think about what I'm thinking about? Think before you speak. If there's a clear benefit in speaking, speak. If not, then stop.
Chess.
I said chess. Regardless whether chess is haram or whether it's disliked or whether you take the opinion that it's permissible. Al-Nawawi, chess is a game that you cannot enjoy, you cannot master until you think clearly and look at all of the options and variables and ins and outs before you move that piece. And know for sure, once you put your hand on that piece and move it, now something is going to change. It's either a maslaha or a mafsada. A benefit or harm. Can't take it back. Now you're in trouble. You made a major, major mistake. You ruined your whole game off of one bad move. And most people who play chess, and the difference is between a novice and someone who's higher up, more skilled in playing chess, and they think more and they think deeper. An experienced chess player, he may think about a couple of moves, he may look at a couple of squares if he was taught well, but he doesn't look at the whole entire board before he moves his piece. That's an immature chess player. And in most cases, before he starts talking about strategy and traps and tricks, that is a major difference between a good chess player and a bad or average chess player, is that he looks at everything thoroughly. Because it's a consequence of moving that piece that could lose you the game. And that is the similarity that we're trying to make with the tongue. Before you want to talk, give a lecture, give a speech, talk about this, talk about that. Think about it. Who's listening? Do I know what I'm talking about? Is there a need for me to talk, or can someone else suffice me in that? Well, I get that. So therefore, people who play chess and who encourage others to play chess, they say, and from those people was Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah was from those people who looked into the intellectual benefits of the game of chess. And from the things that it teaches you to do is to be critical in your thinking. So a lot of people who have an inner city youth, young youth, who have, there's afflictions with crime, with drugs, with guns, things like this, they set up chess clubs because it's not like basketball. Basketball keeps you off the street, no doubt. Basketball tournaments, good exercise, Muslims, alhamdulillah. Football, things like this, recreation centers, la bas. But many inner city programs, they promote the playing of chess. Why? It's because it gets the youth to think and not to be hasty and to outweigh the good and the bad before they make a move in their lives. So that's the point that we're trying to get to. We're not saying chess is permissible or impermissible. That's not what we're talking about. It's not fiqh. It's not a lesson of fiqh. We're not debating the issue, okay, about playing chess. Don't go home, say the brother said you can play chess. Bismillah, I didn't say that. Okay? We're just trying to make a similitude in a parable. And I can't explain this in words, how muhim it is for the youth. Think before you move. You must think first before you move. Wallahu a'lam. Wa sallallahu sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi Muhammad. Jazakumullah khairan. We had here a book of hadith that we wanted to share with you, but there's not enough time. Perhaps there'll be another majlis. Allah knows best.